Disclaimer: this fanfiction is purely fictional and made for entertainment purposes. I don't own BTS or any real life events mentioned. The guest room felt different that night, softer, warmer. Taehyung sat quietly on the couch, a blanket dropped over him, hair slightly damp from the shower he took after Jungkook had told him he could stay. Jungkook lay on the bed, turned to the wall, hugging a pillow close to his chest. Neither spoke. The silence wasn't tense anymore, it was just fragile, like glass holding water. Taehyung glanced toward the bed. Are you cold? Jungkook shook his head. I'm fine. Another pause. Then Taehyung asked hesitantly, can I ask you something? Jungkook didn't move. Taehyung, why didn't you ever fight back? Jungkook stayed quiet for a long time before whispering, because I knew I would lose. Taehyung, heart twisted. But you didn't cry, he said, even when I was cruel. Jungkook turned slightly, eyes barely visible in the dim light. I cried, he whispered, just not in front of you. Taehyung looked down at his hands. I don't deserve to be here, Jungkook. You don't, Jungkook said honestly, but then he added softly. Yet here you are. The clock ticked quickly. Rain tapped against the windows. They both laid in their own corners of the room, but their hearts were slowly turning toward each other. Some time passed. Jungkook sat up slowly, unable to sleep. He looked toward the couch. Are you awake? Taehyung sat up too. Yeah. Jungkook hesitated. They quickly walked toward him barefoot. Taehyung straightened. Jungkook didn't speak. He knelt in front of him and gently took his hand. Your hands are always cold, he murmured. Taehyung's breath hitched. Jungkook. I used to wish, Jungkook said softly, that just once you would hold me with warmth. Not control, not hate, just warmth. Taehyung didn't pull away. Instead, his finger curled around Jungkook's gently. I'm trying, he whispered. I don't know how, but I'm trying. Jungkook looked up at him, eyes wide, tired, but no longer empty. For a moment, they just sat there holding hands, breathing the same air. Then Jungkook stood up, cheeks little pink. Good night. Taehyung watched him return to the bed. He didn't sleep for a long time, because that moment the warmth of Jungkook's hand in his burned deeper than all the hatred ever had. Time skip. It was supposed to be just another business gathering, a fashion event at a five-star hotel, high-class people, expensive wine, flashes from everyone dressed like they were made of gold. Jungkook stood beside Taehyung in a soft, dark green suit, simple but stunning. It hugged his form gently, his chubby cheeks glowing softly under the candelier lights. He felt eyes on him again, as always. Whispers Jungkook, judging looks, but this time Taehyung had asked him to come, not ordered. He would even said, wear something you like. So Jungkook tried. He wanted to try for Taehyung. While Taehyung was talking with a group of shareholders, Jungkook stood quietly behind him, sipping his juice, not bothering anyone until someone walked over. Choi Minjae, a young hire from a rival company, loud and too used to getting attention. He smirked at Jungkook, still playing the silent doll. I see. Jungkook blinked, catch off guard. Minjae laughed and leaned closer. I always wondered what Taehyung saw in you. You look like someone who would cry if your ice cream fell. A few people snickered nearby. Jungkook took a step back, gripping his glass. Minjae, I won't done. Maybe he keeps you around because you make him look more powerful in comparison. Like a beautiful beast keeping a soft, chubby pet. Jungkook's chest clenched. And then a voice, low, cold, sharp as a knife, Taehyung, Minjae. Everyone turned. Taehyung had stepped away from the group. His eyes were on fire. Minjae blinked. Ah, Taehyung, say one more word about my husband. Taehyung said slowly, stepping forward, and I will make sure your family lose their next bit to mine. Minjae stiffened. What? I was just joking. Taehyung, no, it was cowardice masked as humor. Seong snapped. Kim Jong-kook is worth more than the 10 of you combined. You will treat him with the respect he deserves, or you will regret it. That silence, even the waiters froze. Theong didn't look away. Now apologize to my husband. Min swallowed and turned to Jungkook. Sorry. Jungkook stared wide-eyed. Theung walked over to him, gently placed a hand on his back, and said to the entire crowd, This man is my husband, not my puppet, not my property. He is mine because I choose him every single day, and I won't tolerate anyone who forgets that. This verse fills the air, not mocking but stern. And Jungkook had never felt more seen. That night in the car, the silence in the backseat was firm. Jungkook finally turned to him. You didn't have to do that, Taehyung. I did. Taehyung said softly. I wanted to. Jungkook, why? Taehyung looked at him because I hated watching you get hurt and doing nothing. I hated the person I was before. Jungkook voice trembled. Are you really changing, Taehyung, or is this just guilt? Taehyung reached out gently, brushing a hand down his cheeks. I don't know what I am becoming, Jungkook, but I know this. I can't go back to being the man who made you cry. Jungkook stared at him, tears filled his eyes, but this time they were not from pain. They were from something he hadn't dared feel in a long time, hope. The house was silent. Rain poured softly outside again, as if it is remembered that rainy night in the bathroom where everything between them had first. But tonight it was different. Jungkook walked down the hall holding a small tray, pouring warm water, medicine. His brows were frown in worry. Taehyung hadn't come down for dinner, and his office lights were still on. Inside the study, Taehyung still slouched over the desk, face pale, shirt wrinkled, fingers still gripping a pen, but barely awake. His eyes flicked open weakly as the door creaked. Jungkook, you are burning up. Jungkook whispered, rushing to him. Why didn't you say anything? Taehyung, I'm fine. Taehyung murmured, eyes closing again. Just tired. Jungkook, don't act strong for no reason. Jungkook held him up slowly, wrapping an arm around his neck, guiding him gently to the couch. Taehyung let himself be protest only soft breeze, only trust. Jungkook sat beside him, feeding him quick spoonfulness of porridge. Taehyung leaned into him without words, resting his head on Jungkook's shoulder like a child needing comfort. Jungkook wiped his mouth with a napkin gently. Do you always work until you drop? He asked softly. Taehyung chuckled faintly. Only when my guilt didn't let me sleep. Jungkook paused and whispered, then rest. Let me hold you. Taehyung didn't speak, but his head slowly found Jungkook's arm this time, he held it. They stayed like that for a long while. Taehyung fell asleep, breathing softly. Jungkook coming quickly under his breath, stroking his hair. Then Taehyung slowly lifted his head, eye making Jungkook's hazy, heavy, but filled with something tender. I don't deserve this, he whispered. Jungkook smiled. You don't. Taehyung blinked, but Jungkook leaned in slightly, his voice shaking. I want to give it anyway. A pause, a breathe, a heartbeat, and then lips met, slow, careful, not rushed, not demanded, just warm, just real. Taehyung kissed him like a man discovering peace for the first time. Jungkook kissed back like someone choosing to love even after all the pain. When they pulled away, forehead pressed together, Taehyung whispered brokenly, Taehyung, Jungkook, what are you doing to me? Jungkook smiled through tears, saving you. Next morning, the sunlight crept in slowly, soft golden light slipped through the half-drawn curtains, bathing the room in quick warmth. The mansion, usually cold, heavy, echoing with silence, felt unusually still. Taehyung stared first. His lashes fluttered against his cheeks as his eyes opened slowly. The first thing he noticed wasn't the light, it was a soft weight against his chest. Jungkook was asleep, curled into him gently, one arm resting across Taehyung's torso. His breath soft against his neck, lips slightly parted, hair messy, peace, that's what Taehyung felt. Not confusion, not guilt, just peace. His arm tightened slowly around the boy as if protecting something sacred. Jungkook shifted broad, frowning sleepily. Taehyung, heart skipped. Tai, not Taehyung, she just Tai. Taehyung, I'm here, love. Taehyung whispered, brushing his air from his eyes. Jungkook blinked up at him, still lost in sleep. You didn't disappear. Taehyung smiled faintly. I didn't plan to. A pause, then Jungkook whispered, last night wasn't a dream. Taehyung shook his head. No, baby, it was real. Jungkook's cheeks turned pink and he buried his face back into Taehyung's chest. Taehyung chuckled. Are you hiding? Jungkook, yes. They stayed in bed for long, then they should have breakfast was forgotten, meeting ignored for once the world could wait. Jungkook sat cross-legged on the bed, sipping banana milk, hair fluffy, wrapped in Taehyung's hoodie. Taehyung just watched him like he could have believed this softness existed after everything they would been through. Jungkook, you are staring, Jungkook said with a shy smile. Taehyung, I am. Taehyung replied simply, and I won't stop. Jungkook blushed harder, then softly asked, what happens now? Taehyung put his glass down, walked over, knelt in front of Jungkook, held his hands. and with trembling honesty said, "Now I stop pretending I want revenge." Jungkook's eyes widened. "Because I don't want your family's destruction anymore." Taehyung whispered, "I want you. I want real mornings like this. I want to wake up to your sleepy voice. I want to fix what I broke, and maybe, if you let me, love you the way I should have from the beginning." Jungkook was crying before he realized this. Taehyung wiped his tears gently. "No more plans, no more pain, just us, if you will have me." Jungkook nodded, voice trembling. "I already choose you, even when you hated me." Taehyung smiled, leaning in. "Then let me spend the rest of my life choosing you back." And this time, when their lips met, there were no ghosts, no fear, just forever. On the other side, Mr. Jeon lost what mattered most, not his business, but his son's trust. Through he escaped Theong's revenge, he couldn't escape the shame of being exposed for his past fraud. His reputation quickly crumbled, partnerships ended, and the elite circles that once praised him slowly turned their backs. He watched helpless as his son Jungkook used Theong, the boy he once tried to ruin over his own blood. No lawsuit, no destruction, just silence and distance. And that silence was the real punishment. Because in the end, karma didn't come with fire, it came with forgiveness that refused to make room for him. 1 year later, the Kim mansion was no longer cold. Sunlight streamed through open windows. Laughter echoed in the hall. Banana milk sat permanently stocked in the fridge. The staff smiled more. Even the garden bloomed brighter because Jungkook had started planting flowers there, and Taehyung, he watered them with him every morning. A peaceful morning. "Taehyung, baby, where is my tie?" Taehyung's voice echoed from the bedroom. Jungkook appeared at the door, arm crossed, playfully holding the missing black tie. "Only if you say please." Taehyung smirked, walking over in his white shirt, sleeves rolled up. "Please, mommy," he whispered, grabbing Jungkook's waist. "Tie it for me." Jungkook blushed but nodded. "Taehyung, you are getting better at this." Taehyung teased Jungkook. "You have just given me excuses to touch you." They kissed softly and then giggled like teenagers. Flashback, a month ago. "Taehyung, will you marry me, love?" Jungkook froze. They were standing in the garden, their garden flowers blooming with soft moonlight dancing in Taehyung's eyes. "Jungkook, you are already married to me." Jungkook laughed nervously. "Taehyung, not properly." Theon whispered, kneeling this time, not with love, not with truth, but not with hope. Jungkook's eyes filled with tears. "So marry me again, Jungkook." He nodded before Theon even finished the sentence. Present day, the vow renewal. It wasn't a big event, just a private garden under fairy light with only a few trusted friends and staff. Jungkook wore cream, Theon wore beige. They faced each other with rings in hand, this time chosen together, not by family. And when Theon said, "I vow to love you, protect you, and never make you cry again unless it's from a laughter," Jungkook started crying anyway. Tears of feeling, of warmth, of home. He whispered, "I vow to never let go of your hand, even when you are grumpy, sick, annoying, or dramatic." Everyone laughed, Theon pouted, then pulled him into a kiss, soft, sweet, forever. Time skip. That night, the bedroom was quiet except for the sound of Theon's footsteps approaching, slow, confident, and etching with desire. Jungkook stood near the bed, undoing the buttons of his cream shirt one by one, fingers trembling, flushed all over. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. His eyes said everything. "Take me, but don't break me. Not tonight." Theon walked behind him, wrapping his arm around Jungkook's waist, pulling him back into the heat of his body. His voice came low, breathed, ghosting over Jungkook's neck. "You have no idea how long I have wanted this. Not to touch you like a punishment, but like a prayer." Jungkook shivered. Theon's hands slid up under his open shirt, feeling soft skin and curves. He adored Jungkook's flat tummy, his delicate face, his chest rising and falling too fast. He kissed Jungkook's shoulder, then lower, then the back of his neck. Jungkook tilted his head to the side, lips parting with a soft moan. "Theon, strip for me, baby." Theon whispered, "Let me see everything that's mine." Jungkook obeyed, slowly turning around, letting his shirt fall, then his trouser standing in only in under. Cheeks flushed, eyes shy, eyes on Theon's. Theon stared at him like he was artwork he wasn't worthy of touching. "You are perfect, angel," he said honestly, voice filled with awe, every curve. He kissed him hard this time, tongue meeting, breath merged, hands roaming freely now. Theon guided him backward until Jungkook hit the bed. "Lie down, love." He ordered softly, "and don't close your eyes. I want you to watch how loved you are." Jungkook whimpers, laying back on the sheets, knees bent, thighs trembling. Theon undressed slowly, eyes locked with Jungkook's the entire time. When he hovered over him, skin against skin, heat between them unbearable, he whispered, "I'm not going to rush. I want to feel you break under my mouth first." And he did. He worshipped Jungkook, kissed down his neck, just tummy Mark Jungkook was panting now, moving on their own body hot and Thai, please, I want you, he begged, edging. Taehyung pressed his lips to Jungkook's trembling stomach. Do you know what he does to me when you beg? He whispered. You could ask for anything and I would give it. He kissed Lord Jungkook. Legs fall apart for him without being told. Taehyung took his time. His mouth made Jungkook cry out, hands gripping the sheets. A wave of pleasure overtook him. He didn't stop, not even when Jungkook whined from sensitivity. Taehyung, you taste like you were made for me. He crawled his lips. When Taehyung finally moved between Jungkook's and positioned himself, he paused. Taehyung, I need to hear you say it. He whispered that you want me. Jungkook looked up, flushed and breathless, completely undone. I want you, Abhi, he whispered, trembling. I want to feel you deep till I forget every scar you left and remember only this. That was all Taehyung needed. He entered slowly, holding Jungkook's hand, kissing his lip, watching every expression. Jungkook cried out softly but didn't look away. He held on tighter and then they moved together. Rhythmic, intense, slow at first, then faster, then slow again, like they didn't want it to end. Their bodies spoke, but words couldn't. Jungkook were like prayers. Taehyung's praise him came in whispers. You feel like heaven. I am never letting you go again. You were always mine. When Jungkook finally came undone, his whole body trembled beneath Taehyung's, and Taehyung followed moments later, collapsing against him, still buried deep inside. They stared like that, tangled in sweat, tears, and loud, breathless, and trembling. Taehyung pulled Jungkook into his chest, kissing his damp forehead. Was he too rough, princess? Jungkook giggled softly, voice hoarse. No, you were too gentle. It ruined me. Taehyung laughed, breathless, holding him tighter. Then let me ruin you like this every night, he whispered, softly, slowly, completely. Jungkook closed his eyes and smiled. If this is ruin, then ruin me forever. The end.